Right, good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday, the 23rd of July edition of Vogan's European Outlook. I want to first and foremost start off with the tropics. It is the West Pacific that we're seeing activity at the moment, but it looks as if as we progress into the early portions of August, things are starting to change. We already have an invest area in the East Pacific, and it looks as if some of the African easterly waves that are coming off the continent and into the tropical Atlantic is beginning to show a little bit more strength as the Saharan dust starts to kind of weaken its grip as it progresses across the Atlantic. We should start to see the African waves become a little bit more robust, kind of hold together more, and there is also a larger scale thing taking place that looks as if we are going to see a more active MJO pushing into the Atlantic basin as we move into early August. So we are likely to see a rather significant change coming up. The Atlantic is very quiet at the moment. It has been for really since Beryl, and but it looks as if we could start to see things shifting as we go forward. So like I say, we've got an invest area in the Eastern Pacific. It's invest 93E. We have the remnants of Praparon moved into generally that region along the Chinese and Vietnamese border. And then we also have Typhoon Gami, which is expected to approach the northern half of Taiwan over the next few days. And we need to keep an eye on this a little bit, even here in the UK and Ireland, believe it or not, because sometimes these systems can throw influence on the jet stream that then forces reconfiguration of the upper pattern across the Pacific, North America, and eventually even into Europe. So we need to keep a close eye on what's going on within the West Pacific and also the eastward movement of the MJO also. But you can see here that first, by the way, I want to kind of just remind you that I do have the early thoughts on winter, some of the factors that need to be taken into consideration with regards to what goes into a winter forecast. That is now freely available on markvoganweather.com. There is a link in the description below today's video, so do check that out if you're wanting to have a little bit of an idea as to some of the things that I'm looking at initially. Another interesting one here, this is a tweet by meteorologist Sean Batty of STV in Scotland, showing that Scotland is still waiting for its first July 25 Celsius of the year. You have to go all the way back to 2010, so 14 years the last time Scotland went through a July as long as we have done without achieving 25 Celsius. Incidentally, in 2010, July did not produce a 25 Celsius, and I happen to mention to him that it is possible that we actually do not achieve 25 Celsius before the end of the month, which is a pretty impressive feat, especially in the trend of warming that we've seen in the last decade, even 15 years or so, the trend of warmer summers and more extreme temperatures, for example, during the summertime in particular, as well as winter. But this is turning out to be quite a rare July, actually. And obviously we continue with this cool anomaly. This is the temperature anomalies for the month to date. So this is taking us to the 23rd of July, and we're still running below average across the UK and Ireland. Looking at the chat with regards to the MJO, you can see here widespread sinking. Now, I have made a mention quite a bit recently that there has been an adjustment made in the overall pattern. So very similar to June, we have seen the same thing in July, where we had a cold first half of the month and a warmer second half to June, and we're seeing that with July as well. And I've kind of asked myself the question, why are we seeing this adjustment in the upper pattern? So rather having a predominantly west and northwesterly flow, we're seeing more of a kind of southwesterly flow now developed. That could be a couple of different aspects. I even wonder if Beryl moving up through the United States and then interacting with the jet stream exit North America, has that had some sort of an influence in kind of allowing higher pressure to become a little bit more established over the eastern side of the North Atlantic? So very much trophiness was dominating around the Iberia area down towards the Canaries, and the Azores region, but possibly the intrusion of warm tropical air getting lifted north, interacting with the jet, has perhaps had a very, very small influence on building a little bit stronger, higher pressure towards the Azores and towards the western half of Europe. That may be one factor. Another factor may actually be the widespread sinking over the Atlantic basin, allowing higher pressure to become a little bit more influential. It also could be natural seasonal adjustment as well. Obviously, as everything lifts north with the time of the year, you've got the ITCZ in the tropics. You've got the mid-Atlantic ridge becoming a little bit stronger, a little bit further north. All these factors could be taken into consideration, but I've wondered over the last day or so here, what exactly has caused this little shift, this relatively subtle shift in the atmosphere, because we've generally got the same pattern really, but we've had a subtle shift in the wind, which has allowed build-up of warmer conditions over Iberia. That's become more notable in recent times, even in the last week or so here. And obviously, we've seen a day over 30. We've seen 2-3 days above 28 Celsius. And we've seen kind of a very similar idea taking place back in June. So this, the inactive phase of the MJ over the Atlantic, Beryl possibly, and natural seasonal adjustment may all be a factor in this. The question is, where are we going with this pattern? Because it looks as if we do maintain this rather flat, zonal, Atlantic-driven pattern for the best part of the rest of the month. This is the upper air pattern here, the 500 millibars over the Atlantic basin for the next 7 days. So this is the 23rd through the 30th of July off the CFSV2, and we've got a very straight, flat, strong ridge of high pressure within the subtropics, and quite a dominant trough over the North Atlantic and over Greenland here, and generally our mean flow is coming in from the west, hence why we're not seeing anything significant in terms of temperature. We are seeing temporary pressure building into the UK and Ireland in between disturbances. We've got a line of disturbances over the Atlantic basin. In between these, we're seeing higher pressure and consequently warmer conditions with the sunshine, with that little window of 24 hours of higher pressure. We're seeing the temperatures responding quite nicely. Then the next system moves in across the UK and Ireland here. Skipping on to week 2 of the CFSV2, you notice here that everything kind of just shifts that little bit further north here. We're getting into more stronger, higher pressure over the UK and Ireland. We're pushing that negative a little bit further to the north here. And the question is, this would be through the first 6 days of August here. Are we going towards a warm to hot start to August? That's going to be the question. Then as the tropics kick into gear, we're likely to start to see complications in the overall outlook as well. Systems that develop over the tropical Atlantic, where do they go? Do they head west? Do they take a turn? Do they find a weakness in that mid-Atlantic ridge of high pressure? If they turn to the north, it could be either way. We could go to heatwave conditions, or we could go to a more dominant, influential, cyclonic type pattern. So these are all factors that need to get taken into consideration here. We've got a fairly interesting next 5 or so weeks and final 5 or 6 weeks of summer. Believe it or not, it's quite hard to believe that we're actually approaching August and meteorological summer's final month. This is, by the way, the 6th through the 13th of August, according to the CFSV2. So let's have a look and see what the temperatures are indicating here. If we look at Europe specifically, and let's go back to the week 1 here. Let's look at precipitation actually first. And you've got the general idea. It's going to be largely drier than average across the UK and Ireland here, the final week of July. Into week 2, given the fact that the ridge tries to lift a little bit further north here and pushes the negative further north, we've got a drier than average signal. So this is a promising look as we move out of July and into the first week to 10 days of August. Let's go all the way out to towards the middle portion of the month. Drier than average. So that's rather interesting to see. Let's have a look at those temperature anomalies. and see what it's indicating here. So week 1 looks like this here. Again, an interesting cool anomaly. Yes, we've got a predominantly Atlantic-driven situation going on, but I think these blues are a little bit overdone. I could be mistaken about that, but I think that's a little bit cooler than what it will be. I think we'll be closer to average. We'll have days where it'll be a degree or two below average, especially when a frontal system moves in. You've got more cloud, you've got outbreaks of rain, longer spells of rain. Then once that feature moves through, we've got more in the way of sunshine, and temperatures will go above average by a degree or two. So therefore, I think overall over the next 7 days, and towards the weekend, it looks as if we're going to see higher pressure building in as well. So I personally think that's a little bit overdone. Into week 2 here, given that the higher pressure builds a little bit further north here, this is how week 2 is looking like off the CFSV2, if it's going to change for me, that is. Bear with me a second. So it's showing average across, the majority of Ireland, Northern Ireland and Scotland, slightly warmer than average across the bulk of England and Wales. Into the following week here, and again, it's showing warmer conditions starting to lift north here. So there is increasing evidence to support that we are going to have a warmer, drier start to the month of August, which is quite interesting. And then we'll watch and see what happens with regards to the tropics here. So quite interesting stuff. Looking at the ECMWF 850 temperature profile here, so a good indicator as to what type of air mass we're dealing with. You can see here that we're flirting with something a little bit warmer as we move into Wednesday here. There's that little bump, that little temporary ridge of high pressure between weather systems. Then in comes the next system with its frontal system, dragging in something fresher from the Atlantic. Then as we play through towards the Wednesday through Friday time frame, it looks as if we've got that area of cooler air within the middle levels of the atmosphere. Then we've got a system that kind of winds up over the North Atlantic here, and that will allow a ridge of high pressure to build from the Azores towards the UK and Ireland, warming things up. But it looks as if the ECM has it more towards the second half of the weekend that we actually start to see warmer conditions. It's not an overly warm atmosphere, if you notice here. Then it's the same idea. We continue with this kind of rinse and repeat type of pattern overall. But generally speaking, according to the CFSV2, we're kind of building everything that bit further north. The ridge of high pressure, the trough, personal a little bit further north, and essentially keeping the jet stream a little bit further north as a response to that. Looking at the overview of the ECMWF, so you can see here that we've got that the system that brought the wet conditions and unsettled conditions over the last few days. That then clears to the east here. We'll start to settle the shower activity down over the UK as well. Do still have some showers to speak about during the course of this afternoon, but notice here there's that bump in the isobars as we move out of today into tomorrow. Then the next system moves through later in the day on Wednesday. We've got some fairly unsettled conditions. We've got a showery regime once again and fresher air. Maybe those temperature anomalies below average is correct. Maybe I'm actually, underestimating the freshness of the air behind each frontal system. I could be right or I could be wrong with that. Then you notice here that we've got quite a showery regime with a 989 millibar low just to the south of Iceland. That's kind of driving the pattern as we press through the course of Thursday. Then we've got this showery flow continuing. And then you notice here that as we move into the weekend, that unsettled conditions then clear to the east. And then higher pressure starts to build. As we wind that area of low pressure up over the North Atlantic, that then builds the pressure from the Azores up into the UK and Ireland, settling things down through the weekend and into early next week here. And then it looks as if we've got a relatively warm regime through the final days of July here. And then we've got another system that moves through. And you notice here that we've got another reasonable area of low pressure for the time of the year, barreling its way generally kind of west, southwest, and east, northeast over the period here as we step out of July and into the month of August here. So we'll watch and see what happens here, but certainly quite an interesting situation to watch. This is the Typhoon Gami, which is expected to be at least a Category 2 system as it moves into the northern half of Taiwan here. We've got the Mayu front draped across the heart of China here. Either side of that, it's pretty darn hot, to say the least. Underneath, you could see a significant amount of rain in a very, very short space of time. Finally, looking at the track of Gamey over the next several days here, and it actually is expected to become a Cat 4. I've actually just seen that now. So the JMA is expecting this to become a super typhoon, or at least a very strong Category 4 system. Then it moves ashore over the northern portions of Taiwan, moves into China. And some of the models have had this system kind of veering to the north and then catching the jet stream and across the North Pacific. We'll need to keep an eye on that because that can have influence later down the road. But anyway, I think I've spoken long enough. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you with the latest tomorrow. Bye for now.